Jeff Davis, the Davis Group Real Estate Team, coming to you with agent training number one, setting personal and business goals. You are about to embark on an incredible journey. Being a real estate agent is both a fulfilling and rewarding position if you learn how to do it correctly, can devote the time to it on a regular basis, and learn how to become the consummate salesperson. Real estate agents are salespeople. So we're going to be learning things about how to actually sell to people. Not that you're trying to convince them to do anything, but you have to be able to move people through a process, a logical process, to go from thinking about buying a house or listing their house to actually doing it. So, in order to succeed in this business, you've got to set goals. You have to be able to look at where you're trying to go. You don't want to get up every day and just do things. You have to be purposeful and intentional in what you're striving to do. Goals work for all of us. We need to set both personal goals and professional goals. We need to begin by looking at where we want to be, and goals help us to figure out how to get there. Now, goals in and of themselves, they're not the answer because you've got to have steps and a task and different things that you do. But here we're going to talk about the goal setting portion of it. There will also be a goal sheet that you'll have access to that you will be able to then put into practice the things that we're going to be talking about here now. Now, with goals, you hit your desired destination. If you don't have goals, you're like a ship in the ocean. You're just wandering back and forth trying to figure out where to go and how to get there. Again, your life should not be aimless. It should be purposeful. Real estate clearly is a goal-oriented business because we're not paid a salary. We're paid a commission or a fee for performing a service. And typically for an agent, there are one or two services you're going to perform. You're either going to list the house for sale from someone that's looking to sell their house, or you're going to help a buyer to buy a house that may be for sale, may not be for sale, but you're going to help them to find the house that they're looking for. You have to be willing to set and devote a certain amount of time each week to doing this. It doesn't just come to you. You're building a business, and we're going to be talking about the business in some later videos, but you are building a business. And to build a business, you have to be intentional, purposeful, goal-oriented. You have to see that this is not a job, even though sometimes people do it on a part-time basis. I've done it on a part-time basis, but it's not a job. It's a business. Businesses revolve around profit and loss. You're either making money or you're not. And if you're in business, you want to be sure that you're making money because that's the only way you can hope to stay in business. So, an acronym that we're going to be using, which is very popular among the whole goal setting world, is the word SMART. And each of those letters in the word SMART has a significant role to play in setting goals. So I want you to consider each of these as we go through them, and I want you to begin to start thinking about what your goals should be. First of all, your goals have to be specific. Saying something like, I will make a lot of money as a real estate agent is not a goal. That's a wish, but it's not a goal. The reason it's not a goal is because it's not specific. I will make a lot of money. Well, a lot of money to a poor man is not the same as a lot of money to a rich man. So you have to define for yourself. What are you looking to do? You don't want to have goals that are so general that you can't tell whether or not you hit them. Now, here's a goal, for example, that you could set. You could say, I will make $50,000 this year as a real estate agent. That is a goal. It is specific. It is a dollar amount, and it has a time frame. And as we go through these, you'll begin to see how you put goals together. But you want to do that. You want to be able to say, I am looking to earn X amount of dollars in X amount of time. Now, the reason that this is so important in the world of real estate is because once you know how much you want to make and you know the time frame you're giving yourself to make it, you can then back into the steps necessary to get there. So if we were doing the math starting January 1st, $50,000 a year works out to about $4,200 a month. So you're figuring I need to generate enough activity that I am getting paid $4,200 every month for the next 12 months. Now, does that sound impossible? No. Is it unrealistic? No. Given the price of an average real estate transaction, even if you're representing the seller or the buyer, $4,200 is not a stretch. It's an extremely realistic goal, and the reality is you would probably, if you're closing one transaction a month, let's say, you're going to do better than $50,000 generally. But just as an idea, again, we're talking about setting goals. You want to be specific. These goals, when they're specific, help us to minimize inactivity because now we know what we need to do and we know when to do it. Now, the next thing is they must be measurable. The only way to tell that you're making progress is you have to be able to measure it. So, using our same example, I want to make $50,000 a year. Let's say that's $4,200 a month. Well, in the course of every month, in the course of every week, in the course of every day, I can measure my activity because activity is what produces productivity. You will not have commissions doing nothing. You must be doing something. So you have to ask yourself, what should I be doing? Now, whatever you're doing should be measurable. You have to be able to measure it. For example, you may say to yourself, and just throwing some examples at you here, you may say to yourself, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to 10 strangers today. And I'm going to hope out of talking to 10 strangers, I'll meet one that is interested in either buying or selling their house. Now, that may or may not be true. You might meet 10 strangers that don't want to do anything related to real estate, or 10 strangers that don't have any real estate to do anything with, or they don't have any desire. But you could also meet somebody who actually has a house and has thought about selling it, and now you move forward. The point being is that you want measurable goals because you can control your activity. You don't control the productivity because productivity is the fruit of activity. So if you are doing things and you're doing the right things, ultimately you will have productivity. Conversely, if you're doing the wrong things, for example, if you're spending all your time at the beach and you come back and they say, what'd you do today? Well, I spent 8 hours sitting in the sand looking at the water. Well, that's an activity, but you're not going to be productive because it doesn't relate to your goal, doesn't help you to reach your goal. If, for example, though, you said, I'm going to talk to 10 strangers today and see if I find somebody that wants to either buy real estate or sell it, you have a measurable goal. The third is the goal has to be achievable. Now, here's an unrealistic goal. I'm going to begin selling real estate today, and in my first month, I'm going to make $1 million in commissions. Possible? Anything's possible. Realistic? Highly non-realistic or not realistic. Achievable? No. Why is it not achievable? Number one, because you've never sold real estate before, or you've never had the type of numbers to justify believing you're going to make that kind of money. If your goals are going to be hit, they must be achievable, meaning that you have to be in a position to acquire them. Let's go back to our example. $50,000 a year, $4,200 every week. Breaks down to $4,200 every month, $1,050 every week. And I'm giving you some generalities here. Now, is it achievable? Can you actually do $4,200 a month in commissions in real estate? Yes. Why is that achievable? Because in our marketplace, when you look at the average commission, the average house in Southern California is going to be, depending upon where you're at, it could be anywhere between $400 on the really low end to about $800,000. So even at a $400,000 sales price, that means your commission is roughly about 1%. Can you make 1% commission selling a $400,000 house? And the answer is yes. Is it achievable? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. Is it doable? Yes. Those are the kind of goals you want to have. You want to have goals that are specific, that are measurable, and that are achievable. Because if you set goals that are unachievable, then you're going to frustrate yourself because you're not going to hit them. That brings us to the next one, the R in the word smart, realistic. If you're dealing in a market, and I'm trying to give examples here so the numbers make sense, but let's say you're dealing in a market and all the properties are $500,000 on average, whether you're selling it or listing it. Well, $500,000, and for sake of argument, let's say that the commission's 3%, whether you're on the buying side or the selling side. Well, that's $15,000. Is that a realistic expectation if that's where the market's at? The answer is yes. Realistic. Now, let's say you've got a $500,000 house and you think you're going to make $50,000 off that house. Unrealistic to think that you're going to make a 10% commission on a $500,000 house and earn $50,000. Unrealistic goal. You want to set goals that are realistic. You want to be able to go after them knowing that there's a possibility you can get them. So if you were to say, can I go out here and find a $500,000 house that someone wants to buy or someone wants to sell and get a 3% commission of $15,000? Yes. Now that's gross. There's always expenses in doing real estate, which we'll be talking about later on. But keep in mind, realistic goals are goals that you can go after because if you hit them, then you know you're on your way. And then finally, they must be time conscious, meaning you don't want to set a goal that's so far ahead in the future that you lose sight of it in your daily activities. So there are what's called short-term goals. There are long-term goals. Maybe your long-term goal is to own a house by the lake, or that's in California by the ocean. And you say to yourself, you give yourself 5 years to do that. Long-term goal, possibly realistic, yes. But in order for you to get there, you have to set short-term goals. So you want to be conscious of your time. You want to know, how much time am I devoting to actually getting to where I'm trying to get? How much time am I going to give to be able to do this? So I'm going to suggest, as you are starting in your real estate career, that your short-term goals begin at the year mark. Giving yourself a year, you'll have enough time to have a learning curve, and you'll have time to focus on a monthly basis, hitting an annual goal. So again, if that goal was $50,000, then your focus would be, how do I make $4,200 this month? What's my goal? What's my plan? What's my strategy? How do I do that this month? Now, because we're in Southern California, the reality is if you list a house or sell a house every month, just one, you're going to exceed a $50,000 goal. You'll probably hit it within a 4 to 6 month period. Why? Because the average sales price is anywhere between $400,000 to about $800,000, depending upon the market you're in. And if you're looking at 3% commission, then a $500,000 house already is $15,000. You would hit your goal inside of 4 months, just doing one transaction a month. Now, I don't want you to get caught up on the amounts, because the reality is, as realtors, we negotiate our prices. You want to be realistic, but you also want to be competitive. And you want people to want to pay you. And so in order to do that, set realistic goals so that you can help have realistic expectations. Now, I'm going to encourage you to create both personal goals and business goals. We've talked about the business side, so let's look at the personal for a moment. You can use the same strategy. Maybe your personal goal is to buy a house or get a new car or pay off debt. Put $10,000 towards college fund for your kids, whatever it might be. You need to have some personal goals as well, because everything that you're doing in your business should positively impact your personal. So you don't want to just focus on making a lot of money in business and then once you have it, not knowing what to do with it. What gives you motivation are the personal. For example, let's say that you want to buy this house and you know the neighborhood you want to be in, you know the price, you know the down payment you want to have, you know the furniture you want to put into it. So then you look at the work that you do in real estate, and as you hit your goals, it allows you to reward yourself personally. Don't do this business if you're not going to reward yourself personally. Because you'll work too hard, you'll work too long, you'll put up with too much stuff to not have the reward. You need to be compensated for all the things that you're going to be doing as a realtor. And one of the ways to enjoy that compensation is to establish personal goals. To be able to see what it is that you want, when you want it, how you want it, and to want it because you want it. Last thing I'm going to say to you today about goals, they need to be in writing. Goals need to be on paper. You can always amend them, you can adjust them, you can correct them, but you have to be able to see them. So once you have put these goals in writing, my suggestion to you, my strong encouragement to you, is to review these goals every single day. You may review them a few times a day and always put them in the present. Meaning, don't say, I want to make $50,000 by the end of the year, because want to is not a goal. Say, I will make $50,000 by the end of the year through my real estate activities. I will earn $4,200 every month, every single month, through my real estate activities. You want to state your goals in the affirmative. You want to put them in a place where you can see them, and you want to remind yourself that this is what you're doing. Because as we continue to develop here, you're going to find that once you have the goals, now you can begin to put the activities in place to help you reach your goals. We at the Davis Group are totally committed to your success, and so we want you to look at these video trainings and all the other things that you have access to position yourself to be ready for the day when you look back and see that all of your goals have now become your realities.